So on today's agenda, we have how to classify and how to be classy. Do you get that pun? Classics and classify. My outfit is kind of classic right here. So let's learn how to classify and categorize your knowledge for better learning and better understanding and better memorization. Hello people! Welcome back to some nighttime narcissistic activity. It's just hilarious seeing myself filming and changing my whole room into a studio at 8 o'clock on a Friday. So today I'm also gonna lose my virginity for this categorization method. For the sake of this video, it's such a nice experimenting time, and I'll walk you guys through the whole process on what I do and categorizing those knowledge. So the first step that we're gonna do is called scoping the subject. Kind of looks like Christopher Columbus right here with the water sleeves. Water sleeves actually saying in Chinese called 水袖 because they look like waterfalls somehow. This is my brain on 9 a.m. on a Friday night. So no surprise, it is our old friend active recall. Yes, I'm sure all students will have a nice morning with this thing after we all graduate. We should just all have that dun 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 sound right now. So back to topics. So scoping in Merriam-Webster means, let's see what it is, extent of treatment or range of operation, which means that you have to determine what's the range of the subject you need to study, which is pretty much means the testing field of what the teacher is interested in. Is the scope of the subject. You start from the narrow, from pharmacology, and you branch out to all the things that are related to pharmacology. So here I try to recall and list all the subtopics that are included in pharmacokinetics, which are absorption, distribution, metabolism, and elimination. That's what scoping is. You actively recall what parts are related to this subject. I also did this for my test, so I can show you guys a little bit of a recording of actually hands-on activity, a study with me video. Yeah, it's our best part again, active recall, you guessed it. The purpose of doing this is to make sure that we don't miss any small details and topics when we're studying, while using the active recall at the same time. So after listening to those dreading, boring lectures in class, we're gonna clear up everything and determine what topics we remember the most and what topics that we still need to work on and still do that active recall. It feels so good killing two birds with a stone. As I continue here, I mark a big green star around the parts that I'm most unfamiliar with, and I feel like I need the most time remembering this part because there are just too many drug names to organize, and doctors are motherfucking crazy because there's so many drugs to cure so many types of disease in the world, yet we still got more disease and cancer and infections to cure. Well, I mean they're crazy and very respectable. I admire their possession of the insane amount of knowledge that they know. From this point as starting point, and later on I will know how to study and how to plan my whole studying session. So for this scoping thing, you should do it before you start reviewing the test so you know what's covered and what you need to study, because you want to start on the part that you are most unfamiliar with. So the next tip is using the tree of knowledge. So back in the days where Adam and Eve still peacefully lives in the Garden of Eden, and before they eat the tree of knowledge, we still have no sin. Okay, literally no one cares. Let's get into the subject. So the tree of knowledge pretty much means what you use for scoping of knowledge. So this means you go into a specific subject, you pick a topic and expand from what everything connects to this. I think neurology and neuroanatomy will really fit this one because you can start from dividing CNS and PNS and see what goes into each category based on function or based on anatomy. If it's based on function, it will be autonomic and somatic nervous system, and if it is based on structure, it will be central nervous system and peripheral nervous system, depending on what part you're talking about. You pretty much just connect everything that is related to each other to the branch of the original knowledge. And for this part, I walked you guys through what I did for pharmacology and explain what I did step by step, so you can also apply this concept to your own studying techniques. So as I continue to study here, I picked up CNS as my main focus because we all need to learn those spicy drugs that makes us excited and high all the time. No, I'm just kidding. We need to be safe and don't do illegal things, kids. So I need to memorize all the drugs that act on the parasympathetic and sympathetic system, so reviewing the basics of those systems is the first step before studying. So here I have divided all the types of receptor that are in the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. They are the muscarinic and adrenergic receptor. Based on each organ, they have different functions, so I also listed those out. So next here, we're gonna continue with the drugs that acts on the parasympathetic nervous system, which is, drum roll please, Cholinomimetics. Okay, I got that pronunciation right on the first time. Great job. It is an agonist of the parasympathetic nervous system. So here I'm just listing out all the organs that is in the system, drawing an arrow out of it to see what the drug has effect on that organ. There's essentially pretty much just two types of effect on the organ. It either stimulates or inhibits the function. Hopefully you get what I mean. As I draw in the picture, you guys can follow along. This map can be applied to practically any type of memorization subject: pathology, immunology, hematology, cardiology, pathology, pharmacology, microbiology, biology. It's all those ology subjects in science. Love those ologies. It means the study of something in Latin, I guess. Hopefully that helps. And I'm already really crazy, and I want to play some music for some party. 在幸福的画面，只定格在一瞬间。那些慢吞吞没情的音乐，早说过爱过之后就是离别。早该相信那些与我们也没有多特别。So we'll continue to the next step. The second type of application that you can use in categorization learning is called streamlining list. This one sounds really straightforward. You pretty much just write a thing that happens to other. For example, if it's shock or sepsis in pathology, first one would be loss of fluid. Second one would be drop of blood pressure because of drop of fluid. And then this leads to multiple organ failure and ischemia of this particular organ because there's not enough oxygen that's supplying to this organ. So it's kind of like following your conscious thought of what logically happens after another event. This also can go with pharmacology. I will also show you guys a screen recording of what I did during my study sessions previous days ago and explain the whole process with you all. So I can take you guys through this fun, amazing adventure of the pharmacology world. I forgot to record this part actually, but things are just fake on the social platform these days, so I admitted that I erased and redid this part just for the sake of the video. So anyways, I used a streamline for atropine drug right here to see the effects of this drug on the heart rates, on how the changes of dosage will affect this drug. By the way, if you guys are wondering what atropines are, it is a acetylcholine blocker. So for recalling this streamlining of events, it is really beneficial because you will effortlessly recall this list because everything just makes so much sense and you just string everything like a pro. You just string everything together as smooth as possible. So the final step for this categorization learning is review, which is recall again, our best friend, active recall, and spaced repetition. Remember to add that too, which means that you space out your intervals for learning. You require some forgetting to occur first and then active recall to retain and strengthen that memory for the test. So for the part of review, the most simple one is just redrawing the diagram and recalling from your mind directly, but that one can be really intimidating and hard at the first time. If you work on iPad, you can make a copy of the graph and erase some parts of the flowchart and see if you can fill in the blinks. That would be an easier start instead of an intimidating one of drawing out the whole thing at first. And the second one of streamlining can also be applied in this sense. You can also draw arrows and see how many steps. So you want to be sure that you recall what each category contains because that's the essential part of categorization learning and concept learning. You have that mental scaffold and mental structure for you to know what part you have missed and what part you have not missed. Since knowledge is built on top of each other and no knowledge is a single piece of thing that's not related to anything else in the universe. So you can cohesively and string and organize everything together because that's how our mind works. This is how learning and brain plasticity works. Okay, I finally got that quick one. So brain plasticity means that your brain has ability to take over other parts of the brain's function over a period of time of practice. For example, if it's sensory blindness, instead of the person's occipital lobe being damaged, you can actually train the person to see through his tongue. The brain can reinterpret this signal as vision, but without using the eyes. It kind of sounds magical, but the brain's just so powerful. So categorization uses this piece of brain power that everybody has. So after watching this video, your brain will also be different because I have changed and transformed your brain's neural connection. And as you strengthen those neural connections and associate to those categories, I'm sure that your memory will improve too. So as I noticed, there are quite a lot of videos that are titled "The best choice in my life is not to attend college." They are quite trendy apparently recently. But as I want to say that both educational systems from Asian and Western are kind of fucked up in some ways. They're just pros and cons in both of those cultures. So even if you get not so good grade or your parents scold at you on this, I just want to tell you guys that you are not defined by the grade you get, especially in Asian educational system. We're so strictly defined by what grade we get, and if we don't get a good grade, it pretty much means a failure to life, because going to college and master and doctor seems like such a glamorous thing to do in Asian world, because everybody graduates bachelor degree first and normally go pursue some master, and it feels like that will earn you some money after you do it. But the main thing with learning is understanding it first, and through repetition and practice and refining a skill, you'll be better and better at it, and you can earn your money and make that bread. And I really do sound like my mom telling me all those things, although I'm such a self-critical person. I just study my butt off for every single test, but most of the time I do overstudy a lot. But learning is for myself, not for school, so I feel like keeping that in mind is very important for my brain's development. And I love you all. Hopefully you have a good time studying for your test, enjoy the process, trust the process, and I love you all, and I'll see you guys next week with the outfit video.